Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to an all-new Talkin Movies. I'm your host, the real Geno Reynolds, and today we're going to be talking about a movie that I have really been looking forward to. Today we're going to be talking about BlacKkKlansman, a Spike Lee joint. In 1979, Ron Stallworth, the first African-American police officer in Colorado Springs, begins an undercover investigation into the Ku Klux Klan. Oh, I'm sorry, the organization. After the organization decides that they want to meet him, Stallworth partners up with a Jewish officer, Flip Zimmerman, and together they become one Ron Stallworth, newest member of the Ku Klux Klan. Nope, not gonna call it that other thing anymore, because that's not what it is. Just a warning before I begin. Near the end of this review, I'll be talking about the ending of the movie somewhat. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. Also, keep in mind that I will be talking about some of the movie's plot points all throughout the review. So if you don't want anything spoiled, I would recommend this movie. I would say go see it in theaters, but if you're uncertain, if you think you'd like it, at least give it a rental when it comes out on Blu-ray. Alright, now that that's out of the way, on to the review. A bit of a disclaimer. I love cop movies. Many of you know that already if you've been listening to this channel for a while, and I also love me some period piece cop movies, so that's a double plus for this movie. On the flip side of the coin, Spike Lee as a director has been very hit and miss with me. The last movie I saw his was Chirac, and let's just say that I thought that movie was a bit of a mess. I won't go into that here, so I'll put a link to my quick review of it from when I had a morning show segment some years ago. If you want to see it, I'll put that in the description below. I can say that given the subject matter of this movie, I was really excited to see it, but did it deliver? Well, for the most part, yes. When it comes to the movies that are based on a true story, or in the case of this movie, and I quote, based on some for real shit, I usually like to go to History versus Hollywood to see how much is real and how much of it is real, so to speak. It's pretty fun to find out things like why Ron Stallworth used his real name when calling the KKK for the first time, or whether or not the love story in the movie was real, or if white Stallworth was really Jewish. If you want to see that article, I'll put the description to the link to History versus Hollywood in the description below as well. When it came to this movie's tone as a whole, some critics are claiming that it couldn't find the right balance between silly and serious, but I would have to disagree with that big time. Except for the very end of the movie, which I'll discuss in a bit, I felt there were times in this one that just when you needed the movie to make a tonal switch, it would. This is needed to keep the movie from going too far in one direction. If the movie was too serious, it might have come off as preachy. Too silly, and it would have turned some serious issues into too much of a joke. So yeah, it found the right kind of balance, I thought. When it came to the performances, most of them were really good. John David Washington, the son of Denzel Washington, plays the movie's main character, Ron Stallworth. I wasn't too familiar with his work before this, and while you can tell he is a bit inexperienced, he still does a really good job at leading the movie. My favorite performance in the movie had to be from Adam Driver as Flip Zimmerman, or as I like to call him, White Stallworth. I think of all the characters, his is the one that shows the most development as a full-fledged character. He starts off with the case just being a job for him. But after a while, it starts to make him think about his Jewish heritage, all while having to call them and other kinds of people the worst names he can think of just to keep his cover from being blown while he's in these Klan meetings. I'm not saying it will happen, but if he were nominated for this role, I wouldn't be too surprised. Topher Grace's David Duke was a little creepy. I can't say that I'm a huge fan of him as an actor, but I will give credit where credit is due when he is really good in something, and playing Duke, he was really good in this. He just had this calm demeanor about him, but you know deep down that this character is full of hate and anger, and at times it shows itself And Grace does a really good job at showing both sides of this character. When it came to the story, most of it worked really well for me. As a cop story, everything about the investigation is interesting to watch. As a serious and also silly look at the KKK in this country, the movie found a nice balance between the two. While there are a lot of serious things that happen or could happen in this movie, showing that the Klan was a serious threat, it also certainly has a lot of fun at their blind ignorance. On the serious side, the police are doing everything they can to stop the Klan from pulling off cross burnings, attacks, etc. On the silly side, some of the Klan characters, especially the one named Ivanhoe, played by Paul Walter Hauser, who was Sean Eckert in I, Tonya. He seemed like he would have fit perfectly within the dipshit KKK group from Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained. That being said, that character was also used for his lack of intelligence and love of alcohol by our cops to find out crucial clues in their investigation. Again, it was the filmmakers finding a good balance that made all of this work. The love story in the movie, for me, was probably the weakest part. I'm not saying that it was bad per se, but I think if it weren't there, or it would be replaced by Stallworth just having a friend within the Black Student Union, the movie would have probably felt the exact same. I know that they added it to give Stallworth someone to really care about, a connection when the BSU becomes a Klan target, but it didn't really need to be there. Having the character was fine, and I liked Laura Harrier's character, or her performance as the character, but it's the romance that I felt was unnecessary. Did it ruin the movie? Well, no. So I give it a pass, but like I said, it wasn't really necessary. I don't really want to spoil a part for you, but I'll just say that there is a really powerful scene in this movie that involves the showing of the film The Birth of a Nation that will turn your stomach a lot. It's just really hard to watch knowing that this could actually be a reaction to that movie. I don't really like to get political on this channel, as many of you know, but for the sake of this review, I kind of have to. I will also say that I can already tell that Donald Trump fans will hate this movie. All throughout the movie, there are a ton of connections that are made between this late 70s Klan and today's current presidential administration. The term America First is used quite a bit, which is no doubt a dig at Trump. I don't remember hearing Make America Great Again, but I think the filmmaker was trying to be subtle with his digs. Now, this is the part of the review where I have to talk about the ending. So, again, for those not wanting to have it spoiled, here's your final warning. Still with me? Okay, here we go. I have to say that I'm not trying to be a heartless prick here, because the stuff that this movie shows at the end is all of the above. Heartbreaking, relevant, needs to be told, and a reminder that somehow our country hasn't grown the hell up when it comes to how we treat people in the country. After the final part of the 1979 story, the movie cuts to footage from the 2017 Charlottesville riots, clips of neo-Nazis and white supremacists marching, as well as all the counter-protests. There's also footage of Trump's reaction to the incident, connections to David Duke, etc. Lastly, there is footage of the car that ran through the crowd there and the reactions to it. The last thing that we see in the movie is an upside-down American flag, which of course means that our country is in distress. Now, I'm probably going to get butchered for this opinion, but while all of the stuff that happened is truly horrifying, I'm not sure that having it at the end of this movie was the right way to go. And honestly, I'm still unsure of this as I say those words. If this movie is to be a protest against Trump, and I have no doubt in my mind that it is, I think the subtle digs in the movie worked quite well and would have made a fine protest all by themselves. While again, the imagery that was shown is something that everybody needs to see, and there are connections with David Duke's involvement, I feel that having it at the end of this movie felt a little bit forced. I think I would have rather seen Spike Lee make a Charlottesville documentary instead. Again, I think he should have let the clever and subtle digs tell the story that he wanted to tell the message he was trying to get across. Now, does the end of this movie really hurt it? As a movie, a little bit. As a message, not at all. I think people need to see stuff like this just to show how much ignorance and hate are still somehow in this country. For me, this is one of Spike Lee's better movies, despite my issues with it. As a period piece cop film, it's pretty entertaining and interesting to watch. It's funny and serious when and where it needs to be. And again, I'd recommend checking it out in theaters. That's going to be all for this edition of Talkin Movies. If you like what you've heard here, please subscribe to the Real Geno YouTube channel. Like this video, and if you have anything to say about this movie, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. Until next time, I'm your host, the Real Geno, Geno Reynolds. See you later.